Good to see you, Tom. How are you, sir?
Good to see you, Rich. Doing great. What's up to my boys in the studio?
Hey, what's up,
Tommy
Tom?
P? What up, man?
Cracking.
Great to see you.
So, what happened, Tom? What happened in Western New York today, sir?
Short version of it, Rich. Sean McDermott was called into a meeting. I got a call. Sean just went into a meeting. I got another call within 7 minutes saying Sean's been fired. It sounds like it was very brief. Essentially, you've done a fabulous job, but we need to make a change. Terry Pegula reiterated that in his public statements, and it really comes down kind of similar to the Ravens' logic in moving on from John Harbaugh, which was they feel like this is a team that should be competing at the highest level. They've not achieved that highest level in terms of getting to a Super Bowl. Now, Sean McDermott has won a lot more playoff games over his 9 years in Buffalo than John Harbaugh has won in recent years. Sean won 106 games over 9 seasons, if you include playoffs. He won at least one playoff game in like 6 consecutive years. So this was a team that was always competing to be there at the end. But again, much like John Harbaugh, much like Mike Tomlin, who of course stepped down in Pittsburgh 6 days ago, which feels like an eternity because of all the wheels and things that keep turning on a daily basis. Right now, there's times where owners simply feel like it's time. And I know that I said this on the show a couple of weeks ago. When one owner makes a move and then a second owner makes the move, there are other owners that are looking at this and going, well, hold on. If they're saying that's not good enough, why are we going to stand pat? Certainly with Sean McDermott, there were some frustrations that he had, and you saw it in terms of certain players who were inactive on game days, kind of a revolving door at wide receiver and whatnot. But ultimately, Terry Pegula not only decided to pick essentially Brandon Beane over Sean McDermott, he promoted Brandon Beane. He gave him a larger title. Brandon Beane is now going to lead the search for a new head coach, and also the coaching staff is now going to report to Beane. Every team's reporting structure is different. There are some that have the sort of two-pronged horizontal structure, in some cases three-pronged. Everyone talks to the owner. That's what the Bills had in recent years. Now they have the classic vertical structure where it's coaching reports to the GM who reports to the owner. They are doing some things differently here. They want to be, unified as an organization. Obviously, Terry Pegula didn't feel like that was the case down the stretch of the season. If they don't turn the football over 5 times, if they don't have several borderline calls that people are still talking about go against them, do they go into the AFC Championship game? Does that save Sean McDermott? Is this what Steve Bisciotti said, and that just would have saved him for one more week? I don't know. I don't have those answers at this time right now. What we do know is the Bills, now one of 10 teams making a head coaching change in this cycle. There are 8 jobs currently available. This is a cycle that we went into knowing there weren't, necessarily the Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, the shoe-in types of candidates. The ones who are getting jobs are the ones who just got fired. It's John Harbaugh going to the Giants. It's Stefanski going to the Falcons. And now McDermott coming out there, he's not going to be the top candidate for every job, but certainly there are teams this morning, many of them in-person interviews, who are monitoring this and having to recalibrate again as a highly accomplished NFL coach, at least in terms of his winning percentage and consistency, suddenly becomes available.
So is there any sort of inner workings underneath the ocean iceberg pieces about the Beane McDermott relationship that you can lend potentially to answer, no doubt, some Bills fans' questions as to why, if we're constantly talking about the weaponry around Josh Allen, that it's the coach that is departing and it is the man who's in charge of the roster getting promoted? Tom?
Well, here's what I'd say. Based upon their prior reporting structure, Sean McDermott also had significant say in terms of personnel. They were on a vertical or a horizontal plane in terms of both reporting directly to Terry Pegula. Sean McDermott knew Brandon from Carolina. That was a part of the driving force, was the alignment that they had. But again, in recent weeks, it became apparent, even just by Sean McDermott's own words publicly, that he had certain levels of frustration, whether it's a Keon Coleman who just wasn't able to be active on game day, whether it was, defensively and some back and forth in terms of who's calling the plays and, whether or not they had the weaponry on that side. What we do know is this was a team that was good enough to be there at the end every single year. I have a hard time putting that loss to Denver on Sean McDermott because he didn't give the ball away 5 times. He didn't make those calls that he then vigorously defended, at his post-game press conference. But at the same time, there have been other examples in recent years in terms of whether there were game management issues, whether there were, other things that would fall in the bucket of coaching. Listen, he's made a lot of coordinator changes over the years. He's moved on from his defensive coordinator, his offensive coordinator. They've not yet been able to get over the hump into the Super Bowl. And when you've got, as one coaching candidate put it to me this morning, the best player on the planet, not only does that make now this vacancy really attractive, but it also speaks to, as you're beginning to see how quickly windows can close in the NFL, 9 years was apparently long enough that Terry Pagula felt like he needed to leave that window open.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.